process. Great, our ISO image is mounted and we're ready to start the install. What I will do is make sure that my new virtual machine is highlighted, and then I'll click Start. Now, by default, your DVD the install should start up. But if it doesn't, you can press the F12 key during the boot up process to get a boot menu where you can select your DVD from. I'll actually click here and start that, and then I will select F12 just to show you what you could expect if you need to press F12. So here you see a little menu. I can select C from here to boot to the DVD or CD-ROM. That's exactly what I'll do. From here I get the initial splash screen, and I can select various options. We're going to go through an install, so I will select the first option by pressing Enter, and it starts up a little boot. It's loading everything into memory. This will take a minute, so I'll pause for a second. Alright, now that the boot up process has completed, we end up with this menu here where we can select to actually test our DVD. And I suggest you do, because during the download process it's not uncommon for DVD images or just files in general to become corrupted. So I will press the Enter key to select OK. First I need to make sure my mouse is actually in the screen. I'll do that. And here I can now select Test, and I'll go ahead and do that. And this will also take a minute or two while it's going through the test, so I'll pause the screen again. Wonderful. We reached the end of the test, and as you can see, it's been verified that the image is good. Alright, so I will now press Enter again, say OK. And here what we're seeing is, just like in a physical machine, what would typically happen at that point is that the DVD is ejected from the DVD-ROM, so we have to go and actually put it back in again. Alright, so how we do that is go up to Machine in the menu, click on that, select Settings. From here we go back to Storage, highlight our DVD, go back over to the little icon, and you should see your DVD image now listed in here. We'll select it, click OK, go back to the install process, click in here, and press the Enter button. Alright, now we're going to press the Tab key to get off of Test and select Continue. It's actually found the DVD, and it's going to start the GUI install, where we can continue with the install process. Alright, here's the initial screen. I will tell you that because we're just starting the install and we have not installed the guest extensions, or the additions into this virtual machine, I should say, the mouse may be a little erratic at times. That's okay, because you can always use the Tab key to tab through the various buttons, or if you need to, if you look down here on the bottom, you'll notice there's an underscore under the N in Next. That means if I select the Alt key and the N key, that button will be selected without having to press it. So I'll move my mouse over here, and I will do that. I'll pressing Alt N, and as you can see, we move through to the next screen. From here, we can select our language. I'll leave it at the default of English. Now I'm going to use my mouse. Click Next, US English, click Next. Here we can decide what type of storage. We're going to stick with Basic for right now. It comes up with a little information about the disk. Typically it'll say something like your disk needs to be reinitialized or discard all the data. We'll just select Yes for here. We're not hurting our physical drive. This is just dealing with the virtual machine. Alright. Now we have the chance to set our name. Now this is an important part. I want you to use your full name, and then the domain is going to be myslcc.org. So it should look exactly like that, edwalsh.myslc.org. Just include your name, of course. Alright, now we're going back down here. We're going to click the Next button again. Here we can select the time zone. You can either use the drop-down arrow to find your time zone. We're looking for Denver, by the way. And if that, we'll just actually use a little icon. And if you want to, you can actually increase the size of the map. So I'm going to hover over Denver, select Denver, been selected for me, and then I will choose next. Here we can set the root password. What we will use is my SLCC. Put that in twice, then come back down here and select next again. Gives me a little warning, password is weak. Of course, if this was a production machine, you would never use a simplistic password. We would use a more complicated one, but we'll say go ahead, use it anyway. All right, at this point, we can actually select the layout of our hard drive. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here because we're going to have a whole lecture on partitioning drives, so we'll have lots and lots of practice with that. What we'll do right now is either replace an existing system, that would be it, or we can just say use all space, which I will select right now. You can actually go and review the modifications that will take place. So I'll click on that, and then I will click next. And this is what we see. And once again, this is something that we'll discuss in detail later on. But basically, we have one drive. This drive is it right here, SDA, and it's been broken into two partitions. One of those partitions has been used to create an LVM volume. Alrighty, so we'll select next from here to accept that. And we'll select format. We'll tell it to write the changes to the disk. It'll go through, actually creates the partitions and formats them. We'll select the defaults here. We can make any modifications if we wanted to. We can change the label, but we'll just take the defaults. At this point, we can actually select what type of installation we want to go through. And in this case, I would like you to select desktop. What I want is a GUI install available for us. We can change the repositories if we want to. We could also go through and customize the type of software that will be installed. We're going to accept the defaults right here. And it's going through checking for dependencies, and now it's going to go through the install. And as you'll see in a second, we end up with almost 1,100 packages to be installed. That'll take a little time, so I'll pause the video again, and once it's completed, I'll come back and we'll finish up the install. Well, the system has finished installing the software, and I rebooted it. And now we're presented with this menu, and we'll continue finalizing the install. What we'll go through next is something called First Boot, where you answer a couple of questions, create an account, and then you'll actually get to log in for the first time. Alrighty, so we'll come over here and press enter. The system will actually boot up. Now right now we can, if we want to, we're seeing a splash screen here. I'll press Alt-D on the keyboard, and this will allow me to actually see what's happening during the boot process, and this is very valuable information. Typically, if you see any error messages like that one right there where kdump comes up and saying it failed, it helps you to be able to resolve things later on. Now, we're not concerned about kdump because that deals with the amount of physical memory we have on the machine, which is not much for this sophisticated server environment. All right, so here is First Boot. We have a little welcome screen here. We'll click forward. We get some information about the license. Now, this is a open source piece of software, so it's not proprietary, so we get to use it for free, and it's licensed under the GPL version 2 license. Here's where we create a user. Now we already have root. We're going to create a default account, a regular account, and I want you to use your name, and the password can be CSIS. Alrighty, and then click forward. Gives us that error message about the password being too short. I do want to use it. Here we can set time. This is local time. We set up our time zone during the install. Now we're saying, if there needs to be any modification to our local time, this is where we can do it. But it's pretty accurate about picking up the time. I'll select forward. This is that kdump message that we saw come by a little bit earlier during the boot up process. We'll just click OK. More information about kdump, and we'll click finish. Now it's actually going to boot in and we'll be able to log in. At this point, you can take a screenshot. This proves to me I should see your name, myslcc.org, and the login name. That proves to me that you've completed your install, and that's enough for the assignment. To take a screenshot, the easiest thing to do is release your mouse by pressing the right control key, go up to Machine on the menu, and select Take Snapshot. You can also press the right control and E to do this. I'll take it. Takes a snapshot. We can save it. Yes, took one before. And now you can upload that file to me in Canvas, and you're done. Congratulations.